Hi everyone, I'm Shane Stevenson, Director of Museum Collections and Curator here at the Buffalo Naval Park. And for today's video, it's the first of a three-part series talking about the sick bays. So I'm right now in USS The Sullivans in her sick bay area. And then we're going to go to the Little Rock, then we're going to go to the Croaker. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the sick bays on board and some of the differences between each. Because the sick bay here in USS The Sullivans is not the same as the sick bay in USS Little Rock, and certainly not the same as in USS Croaker. So if we think of the ship, it's like a house, right? And you're introducing 310 on board the Fletcher class destroyers. You're introducing 310 men, each with their own value system. So health inspections are of the utmost to make sure that areas are being taken care of to keep there from being like unnecessary illnesses or injuries. All right, so there's really like 4 serious areas that you would need to inspect on a Navy ship to make sure that, again, you're avoiding those unnecessary injuries. So sanitation is one. You got to make sure that the proper, like the heads and things, are properly cleaned. I mean, again, with 310 men, you're getting people that are naturally clean, or that's what they grew up with, and you're getting people that are certainly could be a little messier. So those inspections for the sanitation are of the utmost, right? You don't want someone slipping and falling in the shower. You don't want there to be any excrement or waste sitting in toilets, right? So it's good to pay attention and to inspect those areas to make sure you're not slipping and falling and things like that there. Also, lighting is extremely important. Right, you want to make sure that when you're inspecting a ship that the lighting is proper, and so there's not any accidents that could happen with the crew. Ventilation is another one. Ventilation meaning that the circulation of the air is good. You don't, if you've got 80 men in a berthing, not here on board the Sullivans, but you might have 50 or 60 men in a berthing compartment, all breathing, sneezing, coughing, all of that stuff. You want to make sure that there's enough ventilation and airflow. And then just general safety concerns as someone's walking around. All right, so those are areas that you'd want to inspect as a health professional on board to make sure that the areas are being kept as clean and as well lit and as well ventilated as possible. All right, so on board USS The Sullivans, we would have had a chief medical officer, which would have been a doctor and an officer in the Navy. And he would have had pharmacy mates, or pharmacist mates, all right, of varying ranks. And like with other destroyers and smaller, if there was a serious or grievous injury, you'd certainly want to offboard that individual to a place like a cruiser with a larger facility. But they would be able to perform some procedures here on board the USS The Sullivans directly. All right, so if we kind of pan around, first thing I like to show is the safe. Let's see, with the narcotics. All right, so certainly narcotics are on board, and again, with 310 young men, you got to keep that under lock and key. Here's the examination table, and we do have a surgical light, which is good because I'll talk about that in a little bit. We've got the sinks. Some sanitizing spaces or some sanitizing equipment. And then the various drawers and the instruments of the medical devices. Good old Andrew Biondo, tomato pie. He created a swear jar, so that's nice. Directly from the dock. All right, we recently, meaning in about 2019, 2020, got a lot of medical devices and medicines from a donor, which I was so appreciative of because we were able to fill in some of these areas with, you know, old medicines, which is really important for the authentication of the ship. All right, so there is something called sick call. All right, sick call could be at 800 hours, or at you know, in the afternoon at 16:30 or 4:30, and that's where a crew that weren't feeling well would be able to line up and be seen by the doc or pharmacy mate. All right, so sick call was the 1 or 2 times a day where they could be seen. Obviously, if it was an emergency, they would then be able to be seen at any time, of course. So you'd be stationed here, if say you're a corpsman or a pharmacist mate, you'd be stationed here, and maybe if everyone's doing okay, you're just kind of twiddling your thumbs or doing some reading or catching up on some other work. All right, during general quarters, though, that means you're at full ready battle stations. That means that here on USS The Sullivans and other Fletcher classes, that the wardroom would be turned into like the main surgical area, with the officer's eating table or dining table would actually be the table used to perform some surgeries. Now, I've talked about that in a prior video, but unfortunately, like we have here, there would have been in the overhead, you know, a really nice system of surgical lights, but those are gone. I don't know when they were removed, I don't know when they were taken out, but that's pretty upsetting to me because that's a beautiful system, and if you look at the kid down in Baton Rouge, you'll see that they have that nice surgical bay lighting system in their officer's wardroom. Also for the sick bay, and historically, that this would have been kept as far away from the general crew as possible. All right, so we are in the passageway with the battery locker, the secondary radio room, and if you've watched that video comparing with the USS Laws, right across from Andrew Biondo's office. Right, so this is a space that if you're working here or on watch, that it would not be populated with people. So if there's any infections, you can kind of minimize that interaction. All right, but it's also ventilated. There's the hatch leading out to the main deck, the weather deck there. So this hatch could remain open if the conditions were right, and then you're getting a nice breeze in here to keep it well ventilated. And of course, well lit. So sick bays were usually always obviously far away from, as far away from the crew as possible to keep the spread of infection down. And you can see that with the architecture here in the Sullivans. So I think that's probably about it for USS The Sullivans. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. See the suggested videos down on your right-hand side of the screen. And thanks for all your support. And we'll see you again for Sick Call on USS Little Rock. Thanks so much.